Hello my friends, it's Ranger Russ from the Meggs Point Nature Center. Today I'm going to be coming to you from Meggs Beach. We have a storm coming in. So right now I believe it's still listed as a tropical storm, but I need to let everybody know that Connecticut state parks, forest, wildlife management areas, all of our state facilities are closing by noon today. So we're clearing our campgrounds out. Everybody needs to be out by noon today from our park system. Now we're being cautious because this is a big storm and we really don't know what's going to happen when a storm hits. A hurricane is formed out in the ocean where you get warm, humid air on the bottom of it, and then you get cooler air, which is usually more unstable, at the top. Now the cool air wants to come down. Remember, warm air rises, the warm air wants to go up. They can't go up and come down in the same place. So the cool air will gather together and go down. The warm air gathers together and goes up. And that's actually how you get a thunderstorm. So when that air starts to go up and down, it passes each other, you create a thunderstorm. What happens with a hurricane is out in the ocean, there's plenty of space, it gets bigger. So you have cool air coming together here and here and here. The warm air comes between the two. Then you start to get a little breeze from the side and it creates that cyclone effect. So it starts to rotate around, and then just a light breeze, it increases the rotation and it starts to move it in a direction. So whatever direction the steady breezes are going, then the hurricane starts to move. As it moves, it can pick up more momentum and you start to get those massive winds that we see with a hurricane. Now another thing that happens, I said the air is coming together to go up and go down, so that creates layers within a hurricane. So as a hurricane moves around, you're going to get a downpour, and then there'll be a lull, and then another downpour and a lull as each of those rotations passes over you. The eye of a hurricane really is calm. The cyclone effect pushes all of the storm away, and then you start to get the eye of the hurricane, which is the calm spot within a hurricane. And people that I know that have been in the eye of a hurricane say it's really spooky. The lighting is very different. It's a little bit creepy. I was in one once. Don't really remember because I was a kid, but I do remember being taken out. My mom carried me out, and our whole family was in the eye of the hurricane. And then we ran back into our shelter, which was a basement at the time. So again, the parks are going to be closed, so you really need to be cautious. In the past, there have been tornadoes that happen around hurricanes, and that requires a specific weather pattern for you to get more tornadoes, and they're predicting that with this tornado. It is a possibility. So right now, the coast of Connecticut, I think we're in a hurricane or a tornado watch, tropical storm warning, and we're in a flood watch. Some parts, especially along the coast, are in a flood watch. So there's lots of things to look out for today as far as the weather goes. The way that a tornado is formed is you actually get a horizontal wind, and it's a down pressure system runs into an up pressure system, and it pushes the air up, and you're getting these little cyclones horizontally. When they reach a downdraft and an updraft come together, it pushes the updraft up, and then you get a tornado. And that's going to happen around the periphery of a hurricane. It's not going to happen within the hurricane. So it's all the drafts coming out from a hurricane when they run into another system. I'm really oversimplifying this. Hurricanes, tornadoes, I'm just trying to make it really basic. It all starts, though, the basic premise of a thunderstorm, and then they can multiply into or magnify into these other types of storms. But I am oversimplifying it. I just want to make it simple for everybody. High pressure systems, low pressure systems, you get cold air, warm air, typically when you get two different types of air that run into each other, you're going to get some sort of reaction, and in most cases that's where we get our storms from. So let's remind everybody that you can see all of our past videos on megspointnaturecenter.org's virtual learning center. We do have a YouTube page, and I'm going to ask everybody to subscribe to the YouTube page because I can't do YouTube live until we have over, I think it's 1,000 subscribers. So I'm going to ask you to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We got to get that number up, so then I'm going to be doing YouTube and Facebook live programs. This coming Friday at 6:30, we have a really special program. We're going to have live birds of prey. We're going to be doing it on Facebook Live, and we'll set up a computer. You can still do YouTube Live on a computer. So we're going to have YouTube and Facebook Live simultaneously with our birds of prey. These are going to be birds that you can find in Connecticut. They're all native birds to Connecticut. If you're anywhere in New England, they're going to be the same birds that you have across New England. But if you're from other places around the world, and I know we have watchers from around the world, you'll get to see the birds that we have here in Connecticut. And we have some really special birds that are found here in Connecticut. So I hope everybody is able to tune in. So again, the parks are closing at 12 o'clock today. It's really important that we be cautious, we take our precautions. It's just like with COVID, with wearing your mask, you're just being safe, adding another layer of protection. So we're clearing the parks out. State forests, you can't go in those either, and even wildlife management areas. All of those open areas that we really want people to visit, you're not going to be able to visit them after noon today. And we hope that they're able to open up by noon tomorrow. But if the storm delays, which can happen, it can slow down, then we might need to stay closed a little bit longer. So please check. The DEP has a Twitter account, we've got Facebook, we've got a website. Go to the DEP's informational pages and find out whether the parks are open before you go out to the parks. It's much safer if you can stay at home and you're not out under trees that could possibly fall. So, do we have any questions? I'm seeing people watching from all over. Cutter Ridge, hurricane. It's hard for me to see the camera today because it's a pretty dull day here, but it still has a reflection. Okay, so I'm not seeing any questions. So again, the hurricanes are formed. Actually, it's formed in a pretty calm area out in the ocean with that warm, humid air and the cooler air up above, and the warm air wants to go up and the cold air wants to go down. So Albany, New York is watching. I wonder how the weather is in Albany right now. I think you guys might get more of a storm than we do. We might be on the edge. Might be over there a little bit more. Okay, now I do want to show everybody what the beach looks like, because right now we are pre-hurricane. Okay, typically there is a little bit of a calm before a storm, and we also get an unusually low tide before a storm. It seems like the ocean is pulling up, the hurricane actually is pulling up the water where it is, so the water around it gets a little bit lower. Now, we are in a close to a full moon right now, which causes us to get more extreme high tides. With a storm, you're going to get, as the hurricane sucks the water away, it rises where the hurricane is. But when the storm hits, that means we get a storm surge because that hurricane has risen the water level. So the combination of a storm surge from a hurricane and the full moon means we're going to get some extreme tides along with this hurricane. That's why we're in that flood warning right now for the coast of Connecticut. So I'm going to turn the camera around so that, all right, that's our concession stand. get the camera angled here so you guys can watch the beach, and I can check and see if there are any other questions. Someone saying thank you for the safety warnings. We do need to be cautious. So you can see these are not major waves right now for Hammonasset. Lots of cloud cover. We are seeing, if you look over in this direction, I'm not sure if you can see the contrast in the clouds, but there are some clouds moving. The prevailing winds seem to be going towards the west, so the winds are out of the east right now. That could change as the hurricane reaches. Remember, they're twisting, swirling winds that you get with that hurricane. I am seeing some shorebirds out here passing by. As the winds pick up, they're gonna find a place to settle in on the ground. Birds don't like to fly in high winds. And that's also, we do get unusual birds sometimes being pushed by a storm. And they're moving away from the storm. They don't want to be in it. So if they're flying, they can be pushed far off from where they're normally found. Will the osprey continue to sit on their nest platform during a storm? Typically, yes, they will sit on the platform. It is a pretty stable place for them, and they're going to trust it to be okay. Now, the male may go off and he'll find another place to perch. But yeah, the fledglings, the young, they're going to stick it out on there. Unless they're flying really well, which they can all fly now. So they may go off and find a place to perch. But typically the very young ones, and when they're just learning to fly, they're going to go back to the place that they know is safe, and for them that is their platform. So you guys can, that's a really good point. You can tune in to megspointnaturecenter.org and view the storm here at the park through the Osprey cameras. You'll get to see, you'll see the tides, because it's pointing out into the marsh a little bit, and you'll be able to tell how much wind and rain we have here right now. One of my wish list items, and it's something that we're working on getting, is a 360-degree camera on the top of our nature center. And we really want that for many reasons, but one of them is you'll be able to observe the weather here at Hammonasset whenever you want. Can lightning strike in the salt marsh? Or is it silly? There are no silly questions. It is an excellent question, and yes, lightning can strike in a salt marsh. Typically lightning is drawn to high points, so it could strike an osprey platform, or more likely it hits the trees around the edges of the salt marsh. And then occasionally we have had lightning strikes here at the park hitting our buildings. That's why if you look at our buildings, they all say this is not a lightning shelter. So keep that in mind. We do not have lightning shelters here at Hammonasset. If we have a lightning storm, you need to get in your car and move to safety. All right, any other questions? The Henry Carter Hull Library is saying it would be a good idea to get that camera in, and it is definitely high on my wish list. Look, we're getting a little more wave action here. I don't see any boat activity, so I think it just was just a little pickup in the waves for a little while. Childcare is watching. I hope you guys are preparing for the storm. Make sure you don't have anything outside that could get blown around. That's one of the biggest dangers we have when we have a storm, is that items that are outside get blown and cause damage. So you want to secure all of your outside items. Someone talking about at Hammonasset body surfing after the storm has passed. Yeah, you still have the wave action, so all of the things that I described that happen before a storm, they can also, you'll see that happen after a storm. So as the storm moves away. Also, when a storm hits land, it's going to change. The storms typically grow weaker. Remember, it's the humid air that's close to the water and the cooler air above that causes the strong storms to gain strength. So typically when a storm passes over land, it will get weaker. All right, I am not a weatherman. I have tried to make this as simple as possible. So I have simplified these storms, so hopefully you have a little better understanding of how a storm works. When this information gets put up on our website, we'll try and get some diagrams and things to make it easier to understand. Someone's looking at the playground now for toys and loose objects. Good idea. You don't want anything loose outside for the storm. I'm gonna go secure the few things we have outside the Nature Center. Make sure you tune in tomorrow and every day till Friday at 11 o'clock. We'll be doing these programs. And remember, Friday evening at 6:30, we've got a really special program that we're gonna be putting on Facebook Live, and you'll be able to see it on YouTube Live as well. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us and like us on Facebook, and visit our website for more information. Until tomorrow at 11, this is Ranger Russ signing off from Meg's Point. You can see the wind is actually shaking the camera right now, so it's starting to pick up here. Ranger Russ signing off.